All right, so here we are for game for round 5, game 1 here. At this point, with the way this deck is going, this is keepable hand, regardless of whether it actually is or not. We're just gonna play it out. I think Wanderer is a good play. Going in the dark, I don't know what's the better play. Is this mono red aggro? Well, not knowing what this is very strange. Not it being able to hit my third land drop is consistently a massive problem. Like, way more than the odds should be. He's going to do something, but he's not going to do something. Waste a removal spell. Puts it on bottom. Quickling is a dangerous option considering he hasn't played any removal yet. So it's better, I think, to play these guys, even though they're going to run into removal, even without removal protection at the end of his turn where he could have just bolted it or something, or lightning struck it. Plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Okay, so we're up against a random deck. I don't have any idea what we're up against. Okay, what are you targeting? Okay. I love Quickling. Boom, smack you in the face. It's my flying pirate, y'all. Do I get the land for a Whirler Rogue? No, I don't get the land for a Whirler Rogue. I mean, I understand not hitting a 4th land drop. But at least we hit our 3rd this game, which is the first time in a long list of times here we've not done that. So we're gonna play the Briarborn if he doesn't remove something. Doesn't have reach, so don't care. It literally doesn't do much against us. I guess it does block Cutthroat, but a simple buff, and he starts plowing through them. Okay. 5 lands in hand. He's probably going to play Settle the Wreckage. I don't know what this deck is either. These decks are wonky. So this is probably an obvious like tier 1 deck or something that I don't know about, but here it comes. Comes into play. All right. So here's the danger. Whirler Rogue, and then they play a Wrath effect. And we have no way of backing it up. Whereas I could play Wanderer and have a considerable amount of backup in the form of Spell Pierce. And I can drop the Briarhorn on the end of their turn. I think that's the right call. I don't know what this deck is, but I kind of like it. He's debating. I don't know what's in your deck, guy. So it could be anything. It could be anything. Probably Gideon's in there somewhere. I really want to drop the Whirler Rogues, though. It's going to be so much fun. Now, what I got to remember is if I decide to counter something, I got to play Cutthroat first, then the Spell Pierce. Then the Spell Pierce. Instead of the other way around, because I always get it wrong. Because it's a cast trigger, not a, when it resolves. It's cast trigger. So play Cutthroat, resolve Cutthroat, then play Spell Pierce. You got it. He's really debating here. He's going to gain 2 life. I've never even played against Sagas yet. That's how long I've been out. I don't think I've played against any Sagas. So he's got 6. I've got 6 power on the board. I think he's debating whether or not he wins or can win. You know, playing the Cutthroat, maybe it was right to play the Whirler Rogue, because Cutthroat can't get any damage. Even if I'm able to buff him from the Spell Pierce, he still just gets blocked by a wall. Did not think that through. Oh yeah, but I can play Whirler Rogue, duh, and then tap to make him unblockable. So there's always that. Deep in the tank. Dude, we are like 3-1 right now, both of us. Doesn't really matter. Our decks, neither of us are having good days. Our decks didn't get us there. Let's be real. This is for personal victory. Come on, guy. Make the decision. Those wings are cool. Oh, creates a wall, you gain 2 life. Got it. The 2 life is actually relevant here. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have just enough if he casts something that I can counter and keep my guys up. So will he do that? Ooh. Sack it. Pays it. Spell pierce it. Yay, and I did it right, so my triggers stack correctly and I get the counter on him. Oh, but he's still not dead. I don't know what it would take for him to be dead. Oh, that's really tempting because now I can just counter whatever he's going to do. Board wipe wise, I think I stick with it, and because I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, non-lethal. If I play the Whirler Rogue, I still can't kill him. I'm going to attack just for good measure. I mean, he's going to block and it's not going to matter, but he's got no attackers. I don't think he has a way to just blow out next turn, but maybe he does. Maybe it is a combo deck that I don't know about. Mm-hmm. The one time I could play you, and I'm not going to get to play you. So they die. Is this Heliod combo? That would be bad. It very well could be Heliod combo, which would be insane if we lose again to another combo deck. Its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put the exile cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle their libraries. Yeah, we're just not going to let that resolve. But he's got... Yep, he's a non-creature deck, so he's got something that he's planning on pulling out. He's cheating something into play. I couldn't tell you what. Alright, heralds are going away. These are all coming in. More aggressive. I mean, those are like, for me, I just think these are like the perfect sideboard choices. between Nebelgas Herald and Nimble Obstructionist. Like in the issues and the games where I wanted Herald, like when we're cluttering the boards up and Herald is super good, Obstructionist isn't. But in the games where I really want aggression and I'm not tapping down the opponent's team, that's where I want a stifle effect. Like, because a lot of times I'm dealing with like a combo deck of some sort or something like that, and the combo deck just... Okay, we're not going to need 3 of these, though, and we're not going to need those. We'll put in 2 more of these just to see what happens. I don't think negates are necessary, but we'll keep them in. So, I mean, at least in this league, it seems like the back and forth between Obstructionist and Herald is pretty easy as far as which one I want for the next game. And it really goes right along those lines. Like, if I'm racing an aggro deck, I want Heralds. They're really good. But if I'm not, like if I'm going up against a combo deck or something, I love Obstructionist because it's doing what other cards can't do, which is stop artifact abilities or stop land abilities just long enough to get in there. His walls don't have reach, so I don't think... But you know what? Playing Cutthroat while I can may be worth it. Yeah, especially now. Well, no, he's going to have 3 lands once I play Cutthroat. So I'll make that decision then. But I can't really make the decision. Because I could get the pump out of Deckhand. Deckhand's never going to pump Cutthroat anyway, and it will pump him. I'm never going to get any value off tapping somebody down with him. I think this is one of those times where Deckhand comes in handy. He's just at his best with this. You're going to try and play a wall. I'm not going to care. This card is one of my this card is really one of the main reasons of the deck. I don't care for the artwork too much. I think like they've done a lot better on a lot of the other cards that I enjoy. But as far as like proof in the pudding kind of card, it doesn't fit in a lot of tribal decks. Not even spirits. It doesn't fit in spirits well because spirits runs lords that only if they also run the new flying creatures you control get +1/+1 lords. So like, and it's a spirit bird. And so, like, he doesn't pump him. So he's kind of, like, not good in your tribe, but weirdly amazing. This whole, like, can't be blocked except by spirits is strong. Okay. Which one are you taking? And do you have 2 Chained to the Rocks? That's another question. That would be bad. Yeah, that's fine. Wow. See, now, this game, I have no problem hitting lands and curving out with good guys. These are the games where the deck really is shining. Like, you're just curving out. You got plenty of aggression, plenty of counter magic up, and you got the good mix of, like, getting to choose your threats. Which threat affects your opponent the most? And really, it's... I mean, this guy is just one of the best. All right, so I'm assuming I am assuming. Alright, so I'm gonna... I don't think there's any combination of cards where playing this punishes me. I can still Psycho, I can still cast if I want to. I can still cast... The only thing I couldn't do how this punishes me is I can't cast Nimble Obstructionist and Spell Pierce on the same turn. But will Spell Pierce get me there? You know what? I think it is better to have the Spell Pierce and Obstructionist, because that may be the difference between pumping him up some more with the Spell Pierce and stopping the actual spell I need to stop. So... let's see what they do. He's got 3 lands left. Or 3 cards in hand. Ugh. He's got 3 cards in hand. We're 9 cards in. Alright, let's just go for the aggression if he lets it go. I mean, this is just full out race right here. That's a hard... Oh, that's even harder for him, I think. Because now I got all kinds of options. But he could settle the wreckage here. But worst come to worst, I can quickling things back. Alright, so this is going to be some sort of combo. He's going to play that, then he's going to attempt to wipe the board. So let's do that. Then he has to pay 2. Then he can't wipe the board. He's still going to attempt to wipe the board. Yep. So the question is, what do I want to do? He's at 4. I don't know if that matters. I could get my Obstructionist back, but then I don't have a threat next turn. I think it's better to let this resolve and then Cutthroat at end of his turn and then just have all the protection for it in the world. Because he only has to survive once. And we'll bluff another card in the hand. And then we will play this guy. So if we have to counter something, we can counter something. And if we have to bounce something back, at least we're not totally screwed if he should kill what we have to bounce. All right, this is a long, convoluted argument. But what tends to happen is if you have one guy on board and a Quickling in hand and they go... you go to bounce the guy to your hand, they kill the guy again in response, you lose your Quickling that way too. So let's just see what he does. I think I've got this one. Unless he's got something like another sweeper. Exile target enchantment, tapped artifact or tap creature. Okay, that's not threatening. Like, he's going to exile him. But at that point, he's in desperation mode. Yeah, he's in desperation mode. So I think once Quickling drops, he concedes unless he has a shock effect. And this comes down to the quality of what he's got in his... Yep, there it goes. All right, so it came down to the quality of his card to my card. He didn't have a shock or something in hand, so where he could have got out of that. Woo! 50 play points. All right, so this league was a first league, so obviously it did not go as hoped. I did pull a win out of the win in the end, so it's 2-3 overall. And let's talk about what happened. So, okay, this is not good. And bam. Okay, so overall recap is not enough lands, I don't think. We were not hitting turn 3 lands very consistently, which I knew better at 30 or at 20 lands, but my curve was lower before I threw this together. When I had playtested before, my curve appears to be too high now. I think the winners are as before. My 1-drops are superb. I think these are top quality 1-drops. I think Quickling is undervalued in a lot of ways, and so is Departed Deckhand. I think these two cards, and then going into further up the chain, Rattle Chains is okay, only because it synergizes with your 1-drops. He actually just improves your 1-drops. That's it. You can't even protect this guy because as soon as you target with Rattle Chains, it kills it. Doesn't really matter. He can't protect your Cutthroat or your Quickling. So he only protects your 1-drops and your Herald, which isn't necessarily a lot of value, but when you can get the value, it's okay. And he's an aggressive little flyer. But I think Gadwick has proven himself. I think he has proven himself in the matches to be superior 3-drop than Herald. When you can, you run Gadwick over Herald. He's just better. Other than not being a spirit or flying, he just does what Herald does. But in this deck, I think he's stronger. I just think he's stronger in this particular build as opposed to like a spirit build. Again, Whirler Rogue, Dreamcaller. I've played Dreamcaller before. When he does see play, he is a misbind click. When I get him in, he is typically a misbind click. He is good enough, but the next round, I think I'm going more pirates and less spirits. And I know that sounds bad, but I think he stays. But I think I bring in the Storm Tamer, I think is the name. Is it Siren Storm Tamer? Or, yeah, Siren Storm Tamer. So the pirate, or I'm going to go into unblockables. Just putting in unblockable 1-drops. There's plenty of unblockable 1-drops in Pioneer. Like all the best ones are still in Pioneer. And maybe doing like a Curious Obsession kind of play. But I don't like that build. And there's a lot of reasons why. And a lot of people fall into this trap when they start deck building. And one of the traps of deck building is don't fall into traps. Like don't fall into pre-existing traps that you know. And an easy way to spot this, when I talk to people about deck building, because I am a deck builder, I love to play, I love tournament and competitive Magic, but I am a tinkerer. I am a deck builder. That's what I love to do about the game of Magic, more so than winning. I enjoy building new decks than I do winning. And so one of the pitfalls I see people do when they're tinkering with the deck, or they want to make a deck better, or they're trying to develop their own deck, is they will often, once they start to lose, they want that one shtick, if you will, that one card, okay? And they want that one card that's going to put them over the edge. And they're playing against a multitude of decks in an environment such as Pioneer or Modern or Standard or any other environment, and they see these other cards doing well. And so when you see other decks doing really well with a particular card, one of the tendencies is, how can I adopt that card? How can I put that card in my strategy? And one of the pitfalls of this is that you end up with what I call a format defining card or format warping card in a sense. And it also, not only does it warp your format, it warps your deck. So, and this is one of the things that I've talked about at length is like the card Ensnaring Bridge. So in Modern, Ensnaring Bridge, 3-mana artifact, makes it so creatures essentially can't attack as long as you have no cards in hand. So it's a very known card. It's a very busted card, and it stops a lot of different forms of winning the game through attacking with creatures. Any deck that wins through attacking with creatures has to be able to deal with Ensnaring Bridges. The problem with any deck that may want to dabble in using an Ensnaring Bridge is that Ensnaring Bridge is not a card in your deck that you can just have one or two of. And the reason that you can't just have one or two Ensnaring Bridges is because eventuality when you are deck building. When you are deck building as you play test, the eventuality is that because of the nature of the card and how it operates, it is eventually going to, in a sense, take over your deck. The deck is going to become an Ensnaring Bridge deck. And this is exactly how it plays out. If you're bent on winning and you want to win, and you start dabbling into a powerful card like Ensnaring Bridge in your deck, and maybe it doesn't fit exactly in your deck, but it could, and you want it there as like a backup option or something as a side play in your deck to win the game. What ends up happening is, say I'm playing a Rakdos removal deck, okay, and then I add Ensnaring Bridges in there, and I'm like, you know what? It's a disruptive deck. It's an aggressive deck. I've got haste creatures. I've got removal and discard, early discard. So I've got ways to interact with the board state on almost every level in the first couple turns of the game, and then I start hitting with my heavy hitter aggression creatures. Okay, it's a great mid-game strategy, but then you're like, what about the decks that can go underneath me? What about the decks where I'm thought seizing and they're burning me out and attacking with little guys? So in order to combat those decks, let's say you put in Pyroclasms, board wipes, simple board wipe, but it's not effective enough. You're running into Zoo everywhere, so Pyroclasms aren't good enough anymore. So you're like, what can I do to stop the aggressive decks that I can't necessarily fend off right now? And so you splash Ensnaring Bridge in the deck. You're like, I'll go with Ensnaring Bridge. You know, that's a way to fend off this game. Yes, it cost me like my mid-game play maybe, but I can win the game at least. The problem with that is then you do play Ensnaring Bridge, you run up against the decks, you put in the Ensnaring Bridge, and you play it. And then you find that half your deck is now worthless because you don't need it. So you're looking at your cards, and you're like, all I need is another Bolt, but instead I draw the Fatal Push that is I don't need. It's like I have the Ensnaring Bridge, it's protected, now all I need is my win con. I just need my win con. And so a lot of these cards, and then as you're sitting there with Fatal Pushes in your hand that are meaningless essentially, and an Ensnaring Bridge in play, and all you want is discard spells so that you can interact with your opponent again, because your opponent is starting to play and mount up their game strategy to wipe out your Ensnaring Bridge and then take you out. So you're trying to prevent that at all costs. You can't take out the Ensnaring Bridge because that's what I'm stopping from losing the game right now. So eventually you start siding out your Fatal Pushes. You start siding out the cards that at the end of every game was sitting in your hand dead that you didn't need. It was never a game-winning card. Even though Fatal Push can be a game-winning card, it's not necessary all the time in great numbers in an Ensnaring Bridge deck. And so you end up pulling those cards out, pull out the Terminates, pull out the Fatal Pushes, and start putting in more Thoughtseizes and more Inquisitions of Kozilek or other discard spells or other cards where you're interacting with the board state that you need to interact with. And then what do you end up having at the end of that day? You end up having an Ensnaring Bridge deck. And the reason that the Ensnaring Bridge deck took over your deck is because you put it in and you didn't realize it, but because that is so powerful at what it does specifically, that the rest of the cards that you have that interact on that level are wasted space. It's not that they're no longer necessary, it's that you can no longer afford to keep those slots contained with those cards. You can't afford to run Fatal Pushes in those numbers or Terminates anymore when you have Ensnaring Bridge. You've got to run other interactive cards. And so it ended up taking over the deck, and it becomes an Ensnaring Bridge deck. You cannot run Ensnaring Bridge in a deck without it becoming an Ensnaring Bridge deck. That card will define your deck. And so, what is the point of this rant? The point of that rant is that I don't, like, when I'm playtesting this deck particularly, I don't want to fall into the strategy of relying on particular cards which we already know in the environment. And we already know they are format warping. And the one that I'm talking about is Supreme Phantom. Now, you may not think Supreme Phantom is a format warping card, but it is a deck warping card. If you run Supreme Phantom, it's going to cause your deck to become what is Blue-White Spirits, because Blue-White Spirits is the strongest deck that relies on the Spirit tribe theme and has Supreme Phantom. You're not going to push Supreme Phantom over the other Spirit decks when you lack the other Lords that are in white. And I don't want the deck to be splashing white. Now that may seem, I know that seems like, why not? It's simply a matter of choice. I'm preferring to venture into other avenues because we already have the Blue-White Spirit archetype. I'm looking at blue tempo in some fashion that relies on more of a mechanic than it does a tribe. So flash as a mechanic over a tribe such as Spirit. So I want the deck to be more defined by that, or by the Lost Tribal decks, as they called them, where it relies on mini synergies. Like, just the interaction between Mausoleum Wanderer and Rattlechains can sometimes be enough. So you push that interaction with the efficiency of their aggression, and combine that with the efficiency of, like, Cutthroat and the aggression of Departed Deckhand. And then you're talking about a different kind of deck. It's not a tribal theme, so it doesn't have the weaknesses of a tribal deck, but at the same time, you do have a synergistic theme built throughout the deck. So it becomes more than a tribal deck in that sense, where it's synergistically in vibe, but not dependent on the tribal archetype. And it doesn't suffer the flaws of being a particularly one tribe. So, anyway, I think Supreme Phantom, though a lot of people would be looking at this going, just make it a Spirit deck and put in Supreme Phantom. Well, then I'm just running a subpar Spirit deck. And I guess the counter to that is, well, now you're running a subpar Spirit Pirate deck, which you're right, but I'm hoping that this becomes more. Because I want it to be more adaptable as Pioneer grows, because Spirit as an archetype may always be there as an archetype, because it's good enough to be in Modern. But at the same time, there are going to be other archetypes. And I don't think Pirates as a tribe has been flushed out in Pioneer at all. Like, a lot of people wanted Pirates good enough in Modern because of the power of the red and black 1-drops. And now we're seeing Spectral Sailor, and we see a decent 1-drop in that theme. So, like, Pirates has a chance, I think, in Pioneer. I don't know if it's blue, though. That's the thing. Even though I love Cutthroat, and I love Deckhand, and I like Dreamcaller Siren, and I love Sailor, I don't know if there is a blue variant of the Pirate deck, because I think the stronger Pirates are going to be in black-red, simply because of the Lord effects. But I am willing to try it. And it gets you around relying on white in the Spirit decks. And it also catches people off guard. But anyway, I've rambled a lot about the deck. I think Gadwick is strong. I think Quickling is strong. And I think Spectral Sailor is strong. So right up this line right here, I think these cards are undervalued. And especially Departed Deckhand as well. I think he's really strong. I really like Cutthroat. I don't know if he's proved himself to me yet, though. But the rest of these have, as far as I think Quickling is almost always better than Rattle Chains at protecting your guys. But anyway, I'm going to end the video. Thank you for watching, and wait for the next ones because they are coming. I'll start probably tomorrow with a brand new league and the tweaks to the deck like I'm talking. And if you have any ideas or anything, leave them in the comments. What you think might work well in the deck and what you don't, or what you think I really need to improve on as far as the card quality. But all right, thanks for watching.